Hey, welcome back to The Popcorn Isn't Real. Happy to be here. I'm Torvald, and this is my brother.
Hi, I'm Leif Eric.
Today we're going to talk about Deadpool. I'm so excited. So I loved Deadpool when it came out, and I was actually surprised because I didn't expect to love Deadpool when it came out.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is because I actually like Deadpool a lot as a character, and I thought that they couldn't do a faithful, big screen representation of him because he's kind of a really almost abstract character in a lot of ways because he breaks the fourth wall and he has inner voices and how are you gonna show that on the big screen without it being tacky, right?
Exactly. I mean, arguably they didn't do a very faithful version of him, but
I think that was a good choice.
They did a version that would appeal to a mainstream audience and was still different and interesting.
He was very different. And this is another thing about it that I thought I wouldn't like, which is I have nothing against him. I'm just not a big fan of Ryan Reynolds. I don't dislike him. I'm not really into him, right? So I didn't think I would enjoy him as Deadpool. But dude, he killed it as Deadpool. He is such a good Deadpool. I got to give credit where it's due. And I got to say, Ryan Reynolds, boy, he must love Deadpool. He really put his heart into that role, dude.
Guy really fights for Deadpool. I mean,
right.
He was fighting for that role for a long time.
No, absolutely. So a little background on this movie. It came out in 2016. Ryan Reynolds, he acted in it. He was Deadpool. He produced it. And he was attached to the project since 2004, just after he filmed Blade 3. Right? He was attached to that project for over a decade, just trying to make it happen.
Well, I mean, he kind of made it happen with Wolverine Origins, right? He did play Deadpool, but I don't think he was very happy with that.
No, I don't think so either. Apparently, also in the commentary, they pretty much confirmed that it was Ryan specifically, that they all wanted to do it and they were all trying to do it, but it was specifically Ryan Reynolds who leaked the test footage that actually got the movie kind of greenlit.
Yeah.
Right?
I wonder if he also leaked the script because the script was leaked too.
I think it might have been. But
by
they didn't talk about that.
Paul Wernick.
Yes, no, you got it. It's Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick. Those are the writers, and the director is Tim Miller.
Yeah, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick are great, and I actually had read the script when it leaked, several years before the movie was ever made, and before that test footage was leaked either. It was a pretty good script. They changed a couple things, but not a lot. It was pretty much the same thing.
In the commentary, they actually mentioned that I guess they made literally another draft of the script. They rewrote it every year for a decade. So there are at least 10 different versions of that script, but they admitted that none of those versions was very different. They were all very similar to each other, just small changes throughout them. They said there was one PG-13 version, but they of course ended up with the R-rated version. Tim Miller, the director, he did Terminator Dark Fate.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. So, talking about Deadpool. Hey, you, an outside viewer, what is Deadpool about, Leif?
Okay, well, I mean, Deadpool is just about this guy, bounty hunter, who gets cancer and tries to cure it. Also, he's in love with a lady and he leaves her, but he really loves her. And anyway, after trying to cure it, he ends up involved in this weird experiment where he gets healing powers and then people are after him and he has to kill them because they kidnap his girlfriend.
Pretty flimsy plot, right?
Right. It's the character who really makes it work because he's just a funny, interesting character.
Now, I think it's interesting because this movie has a really flimsy plot. You're kind of if you think about it, you're what even happened in that movie? Why didn't Deadpool just go back to his girlfriend after he got cured? What was even going on? But it's a really enjoyable movie. And I believe that the reason for this is that is not the plot. I have a theory that there is another plot, a subplot underlying all of this that actually gives the movie a certain strength and a certain core. I have a theory that Deadpool is a love story. But it's not a love story between Wade and Vanessa, as you might think. It's the love story between Deadpool. Wade, he's a bad guy. He's a self-hating guy because he's got a good heart. And he doesn't like that he did those bad things. Like, he just wants to be punished, but he can't die because of his, his mutant powers, which develop in the movie. It's a love story between him and Ajax, who is a bad man with no heart, right? Like, he literally can't feel anything except for when Deadpool says his name. Then he feels something. So this is the story of Ajax and Deadpool interacting in various ways, and Ajax punishing Deadpool and forcing him to say his name so they can both feel what they want to feel. You know, they both love punishment. They both want to feel something. That's how I took it. The first time I watched this movie, that's the movie I saw.
Okay.
All right. So just to give you some background on why I believe this, I'm going to go more specific later. But if you watch this movie again, pay attention to Ajax, because almost every single line in this entire movie, almost all of his lines are complimenting Deadpool or speaking fondly of him or asking him to say his name. Like, whenever he talks about Deadpool, it's affectionate. Yeah. Ajax has strong feelings towards Deadpool, clearly. And that's interesting from a character who shouldn't feel anything, right?
Okay, so but is this theory that the love is one-sided, or is this a reciprocated relationship? What's the theory?
I think that it is pretty much one-sided in that, like, I take the theory to be Ajax, he is in love with Deadpool and the way Deadpool makes him feel. Deadpool may or may not know it. He kind of plays to it, but that might just be kind of his personality as Deadpool. He just wants to shake things up, and he might know that Ajax feels strongly about him, and I think he likes pushing Ajax's buttons, right? Like, he's also getting something out of this, but maybe not to the same level as Ajax, right?
Okay.
So, but I think that's a good question. We'll get into that actually a little more as it goes along. But I do think that Deadpool, he likes pushing people's buttons, right? There's no denying that. And I think he likes being punished.
I mean, for sure. I mean, that's actually one of the things that I like most about Deadpool's character in the comics. Everything about him is just motivated by his own self-hatred and his desire to
he's
die.
A very self-loathing
and they really, really toned that down for the movie, which I didn't like, but I do think was a good choice.
It needed
because this thing was bordering on not working in the mainstream, and it totally worked in the mainstream. And I think had they not toned down a lot of Deadpool stuff, it wouldn't have caught on the way it did. But I still really missed a lot of Deadpool's self-destructive and self-hating behavior. But
I see where you're coming from, but I can accept any changes they made to make this movie happen just because it's such a good movie. I'm just really glad it exists. But all right, you'll notice, I'm sure you'll remember, the opening of this movie is really iconic. It's actually a really cool opening where it's a freeze frame of Deadpool attacking Ajax and his goons, and the camera kind of pans around this 3D freeze frame showing all the different pieces of it. It's cool.
Shot for shot, that whole sequence was in the script.
Whoa, dude, the attention to detail of those writers is something to behold. No, so throughout this scene, they're blasting Angel of the Morning, which is the, you're my angel, you're my darling.
Okay.
Right? But so they're playing that song, and this is a love song, but there's nothing loving in this scene, right? Like, why would they even play that song here? It's because this is the song about Wade and Ajax, right? Wade and Francis.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no love in this scene. Like, I guess you could say they're just playing it for the comedy of it, but I think it's a little more than that. I think that they're showing this relationship, right? Like, this is the culmination of that relationship. Like, Deadpool is now coming after Ajax, which is what Ajax wants, right?
Now, so I just have to say, in the script, there was a joke that I really liked that I think got cut out from the movie, where so they're having this big fight on the overpasses or the freeways or whatever, and at one point they are on one of the freeways and cars are stopped all around them, and Deadpool and Ajax are facing off, and Ajax pulls like a hostage out of a random car and puts a gun to his head and is like threatening Deadpool, like, stay away from me, I'll shoot this person. And then Deadpool pulls a little girl out of a car and puts a gun to her head. It's like, you stay away from me, I'm gonna shoot this little girl. or you come over to me, I'll shoot them, something like that. I don't remember exactly. And then another part of the joke that I liked was when he pulls her out of the car, he looks down at her shoes and he's like, oh, Heelys, nice. She's wearing Heelys. Anyway,
they should have kept that in. That's a really good
probably
gag. That's a good Deadpool joke.
Yeah, probably the production company didn't really go for putting a gun to a little girl's head, even if it is
R-rated. It could have just been somebody. It didn't need to be a little girl. Like just them both having a hostage, but Deadpool having no reason.
But it was a good joke because it was both funny and it establishes right at the beginning, like, oh, he's not a hero, right? He's just as bad as the guy he's chasing.
Also, he's crazy.
And the stuff he does doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
That's a good gag. I wish they'd kept that in. That's really good. All right. So one more thing to note about the song Angel of the Morning. This is my flimsiest evidence, so you're going to have to bear with me here. But one of the lines they repeat throughout that song is, touch my cheek before you leave, right? Like they keep saying, touch my cheek before you leave. This movie ends with Ajax and Deadpool punching each other in the cheek before Deadpool kills Ajax, before he leaves.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say like Ajax reaches out and strokes Deadpool's cheek as he's dying. I was like, I missed that part. But
I would have been great. No, but they specifically do punch each other in the cheek. Like they're giving each other hooks to the face and it's definitely landing on the cheek.
Right.
But no,
but I mean,
there's no
probably typically when you
give
cheeks. A hook to the face, it's going to land on the cheek, right?
Yeah, I told you you'd have to bear with me for that one. All right. Now, the very first time we see Ajax, Deadpool's hunting him down. He kills all the goons. Sees Ajax, they're face to face, starts talking to him. Ajax's first words to Deadpool are, well, hello, gorgeous. Those are first words. Like, first he calls him gorgeous, and then he says, you should thank me. Apparently, I made you immortal. I'm actually quite jealous. Now, I think he actually is quite jealous. Like, I think part of Ajax's, obsession with Deadpool is that he's jealous that Deadpool can feel everything and live through it, right? Like, Ajax feels nothing and can die, right? But Deadpool feels everything, right?
That is one of the biggest problems with this movie. When you
it's
realize
one of the best parts of the movie.
Well,
Ajax is just
the main conflict,
disabled.
like the main villain of this movie, doesn't have a superpower. He's handicapped, right? He's just missing one of his senses. That's it.
Yeah. So he does say that he has heightened senses. Whatever that means. Or like I think he says heightened senses and reaction time.
Okay.
I don't know if that really plays much into the movie. I think that was just kind of them trying to make him seem cool, even though he's just, I don't care. Disabled.
Blind people have heightened senses because they're missing one of their senses, right? Like he's missing a sense, so his other ones are heightened. Like that's just, that's just how it works.
Yeah, no, I actually love that about this movie. I love that the bad guy who Deadpool's having so much trouble with, he's just missing.
Yeah, he's just a handicapped man.
He's a handicapped.
And Deadpool is literally a guy who cannot die. Like there's no way Ajax was ever going to win this conflict.
Right. Now, I also have to say, I don't know if it's because he can't feel anything, so like he doesn't hold back his muscles, but Ajax does seem to have increased strength. Like he lifts up an adult, like a big guy, he lifts him up by the neck with one hand and just holds him there for like half a minute. And then later after he spears Deadpool to the ground with rebar, like a big thick thing of rebar, like at least double circumference of normal rebar, he just bends it, right? Like he just grabs it and bends it into a hook. So he must be strong.
Yeah, he's strong. We don't know if it's super strength, but he's stronger than a normal guy.
He's not as strong as Angel Dust, but he is definitely stronger than the average guy.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. The movie starts up. Wade meets Vanessa. They fall in love. They're having a great time, but Wade gets cancer, and it's really sad, and they have to deal with that. And then in the end, he doesn't want her to have to suffer through his cancer, so he leaves her, and he goes to this government. It's not actually government. This private experimentational project, right? And they take him into a lab and they, tie him down and basically they say, yeah, we're not a government project. We're a private project and we're basically just going to hurt you. And At this point, when Wade first enrolls in this project, I think he makes an impression on Ajax. And Ajax might not be feeling anything yet, but he definitely notices Wade. So Ajax is strapping him down, and he says, he was once a patient there. He says, in my case, it enhanced my reflexes, also scorched my nerve endings, so I no longer feel pain. And in fact, I no longer feel anything. And I think that's important. He doesn't feel anything. And I think he means emotionally as well.
Right.
Because he seems to be very dead to the world, right?
See what else that could mean.
Right. So he doesn't feel. And Deadpool, he's gagged at the moment. He's begging to be ungagged. Like, he clearly wants to say something. And then they finally, like, Ajax signals Angel Dust to take the gag off of him. And Deadpool says, you have something in your teeth right there, right in the middle. And at this point, Ajax smiles and even laughs a little under his breath, and then catches himself and stops smiling and glares and looks away.
Oh.
And then he checks his teeth in the mirror, and Deadpool laughs and says, made you look. And I think it's almost like, at least from Ajax's perspective, I think it's almost like Deadpool saying, made you feel something, right? Like, I think Ajax took this a little personal, because he just told Deadpool, I don't feel anything. And then Deadpool caught him smiling, right?
Yeah, he can clearly feel something.
But then Ajax does later kind of open up, I felt, to Wade, and tells him, like, one thing that never survives this place is a sense of humor. And I think that he's not only being a little threatening and ominous, but I think he actually means it, right? Like, I think he's alluding to the fact that he died inside at that place. And he's kind of warning Deadpool, this what happened to me will happen to you. And I think he both hates and loves Deadpool, because what happened to him doesn't happen to Deadpool. The opposite happens to Deadpool.
Yeah.
He becomes immortal and also keeps a sense of humor.
He gets a superpower.
Whereas
Ajax was just tortured and handicapped.
So they start torturing Deadpool. This is a really important part. They're torturing Deadpool. There's a little montage about that. Later, Ajax walks in on Deadpool talking to another inmate. They're talking about the things they want to see and do before they die. And Deadpool just happens to start talking about Vanessa. After the whole conversation, he kind of mutters, he says, Vanessa, I want to see Vanessa. And that's right when Ajax walks in. And you can faintly hear him off camera. He says, oh, you're lovely. Which is a weird thing to say.
What?
But then he says, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm touched. I encourage distractions. Wouldn't want you to lose hope. And I think this is interesting. Like, I don't know. I think he heard them talking about Vanessa, and I think he's hurt. Like, I think he's a little jealous.
Now,
So,
he said all of this, like, off camera in, like, a whisper or, like, a
well,
little voice.
the "Oh, you're lovely" was like, it wasn't really a whisper, but it was far away from the mic, so you could like barely hear it.
But the rest
you
of
could
it,
hear it.
He's on
And the
camera.
rest of it, he actually says to the guy who Deadpool was talking to.
Oh, okay.
It's clearly to both of them, but he's talking to the other guy. And at this point, Deadpool cuts in and he's like, how tough can he be with a name like Francis? And this is important. This is a profound moment for Ajax. I think something breaks inside of him when he hears his name. At this moment, he knows he feels something, and it's anger. Like, his face suddenly changes, and he glares when Deadpool says his name. Like, he's not hiding that he feels something. This man who feels nothing, right? Mm-hmm. And Deadpool continues. He's like, it's his legal name. He got it from Ajax dish soap. And then he starts spelling it. He says, Francis, Franci. Oops, I snagged the dry cleaner tag off your lab coat. And then Ajax walks over to him and says, you are so relentlessly annoying. Won't you do us all a favor and shut up, or I'll sew your pretty mouth shut. Which, once again, he's being like almost affectionate to him. Like, he's complimenting him every time he tells him how annoying he is, right? It's like almost like he likes it. And why would someone who can't feel anything care if someone's being annoying, right?
Right.
All right. So like I said, this is a profound moment for Ajax. Like, he breaks inside when he hears his own name. Like, he doesn't know what to feel, and he overreacts. Like, it's at this point that he puts Deadpool straight into the vacuum treatment, like the most horrible treatment they have, and leaves him there for a whole weekend. And this is what finally awakens the powers in Deadpool. So after a whole weekend of, getting the air sucked out of his body and also being kept alive just barely, Ajax shows up and inspects Deadpool. And, you can see the Deadpool's, disgusting and gross looking now. And Ajax says, looks like someone lost his shot at Homecoming King, which once again is almost like a compliment, like a backhanded compliment. Like, you used to be so pretty. And then Ajax, commenting on Deadpool's face, like, this is just important for plot reasons. He says, yeah, I've seen similar side effects before. I could cure them, but where's the fun in that? And then he says, now I'm going to shut you in there again, Wade. Not because I need to, but because I want to. And once again, I think this is important. He wants to do it because he feels something when he punishes Wade, right? Like, he feels something when he hurts Wade, he feels it and it makes him happy, right? And then this, I feel, is punctuated or underlined by the fact that as soon as he says, not because I need to, but because I want to, he leans in real close to Deadpool right before closing the chamber and says, quick question, what's my name? And then Deadpool doesn't answer. He just glares at him. And Ajax looks genuinely disappointed. Like, he waits for it. He doesn't hear anything. He looks actually disappointed, and he shrugs and he turns away and says, didn't think so. Like, and he sounds kind of sad and then closes the thing. And it's almost like he's accepted, like, he thinks he won't get to feel it again, right? Like, he's disappointed and he's like, yeah, I didn't think I would feel it again, right? Like, whatever I felt the first time you said my name. Like, I don't know. I think he was really hoping for it, but he didn't get it. And he was like, I knew it was too good to be true. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So Deadpool sneaks the match from Angel Dust, manages to set a fire, and he gets out and starts fighting with Ajax. There's a big fight scene as the place burns down. Eventually, Ajax knocks Deadpool out, runs him through with a rebar, spikes into the ground, bends the top into a hook so Deadpool couldn't get off even if he was, conscious. Then he bends down to face, dazed Deadpool, who's just barely even there. And he whispers again to him, what's my name? Like, he really drives this home. He really wants to hear his name.
Well, yeah. So it's been a while since I watched this, but I mean, since your theory certainly isn't the common belief of most people who have watched this,
I don't see how you could believe anything else. But.
I think probably what most people get out of this is that, like, it's like he was really mad the first time he said his name.
Yeah, definitely. How could someone who feels nothing be mad? Like, how can he feel anger?
But this is like a power play. Like, you like I'm in charge now. You're too afraid to save my name. It is a power play, definitely. And
Deadpool also likes it, I think. Like, on some level, I think Deadpool likes the punishment, and Ajax likes punishing him.
But Deadpool doesn't say his name whenever he does.
No, he doesn't.
Huh.
And I mean, this time it's because he was almost unconscious.
Yeah.
And then the other time when he was about to shut the vacuum capsule, this is actually kind of important. He didn't say his name because he had Angel Dust's match in his mouth hidden. Right.
Okay.
So I think he would have said Ajax's name, but he couldn't because he had the match in his mouth. And I think that's part of why Ajax is so disappointed, because he thought Deadpool would do it, but he didn't do it. And he's like, I knew it. Of course, you won't let me feel that again.
Okay,
so Deadpool, he gets out. He's all powered up. He's a super mutant. He can't die. And what's the first thing he's going to do? What's he going to do now that he's free? Is he going to go find Vanessa?
No,
he's going to go find Francis. Now, cutting forward, Deadpool found Ajax, fought with him. Ajax got away. Ajax is talking to Angel Dust. He's talking about Deadpool. He explains that they're going to kill him. They're going to hack him up. He says he can't heal if there's nothing left to heal. And then he turns to, after this whole conversation where Angel Dust is like, can we even kill him? He's immortal. He's like, yeah, well, if we hack him up enough, he can't. The conversation's over. And the camera starts to pan away. And then he turns back to Angel. And this is completely unnecessary. He turns back to Angel Dust and he says, it's almost funny. I almost missed him. I like a challenge, but he's bad for business. Now let's go find him. Like, it's a really weird, wistfully, like, longing thing to say, which was completely unnecessary. Like, if he was just your regular run-of-the-mill villain, why is he making comments like this?
And what was the challenge?
The challenge is Deadpool. Like, he likes him.
But like, what was the challenge? What was challenging about Deadpool?
Nothing. It's like, this is his way of saying, I like Deadpool. Yeah. Right? Like, he's just calling him a challenge. Like, I think he doesn't want to admit it to himself or Angel, but he does want to say it. Like, it means so much to him. I mean, like, he likes Deadpool. Because like, but then he has to admit to himself, but he's bad for business. So let's go get him, right?
But I'm just saying, like with the challenge line, they haven't really gone head to head at all yet.
No.
So there's been no challenge. Like, Wade
they fought and he got pinned to the wall.
Compliant when he came in. Like, well, Wade, sure, he's being kind of snarky, but other than that, he's done everything they said, right?
You're right. So just to make sure you're on the same page, this is after Deadpool hunted him down and pinned him to the wall, right?
Oh, okay.
So they have fought at this point. And also, Deadpool has been killing his goons to try and find him.
Okay.
Right? Like, so that's why he's bad for business, as Ajax says. Like, he's actually disrupting their little cartel.
So he's saying, I like a challenge in the sense, I wish I could let him keep hunting me down and killing my man.
No, that's exactly what he's saying. And it's funny, like, he's not even implying it. He's saying, I would let him live and keep doing this if it wasn't hurting my business. Like, he's just saying, I like him. Like, I miss him and I like him. Like, it's the weirdest it's the weirdest thing for him to basically, like, it's almost like he's like, my friend came back. I'm so happy. Right? Like, that's basically what he's saying.
Okay. All right.
So at this point, he wants to get to Deadpool. How's he going to get to Deadpool? He's going to kidnap Deadpool's girlfriend. So he goes to kidnap Vanessa, and he, sneaks out of an alley, and he grabs her and he says, "You have Wade Wilson to thank for this." Just letting her know this isn't about her. It's about Wade. This is about Deadpool, right? Just making sure she knows that. And I believe that he's not just kidnapping her because he wants to get to Deadpool. He's kidnapping her because he's jealous, right? Like, he remembers what Deadpool said, that the last thing he wanted to do was see Vanessa. He's like, no. You want to say my name some more.
Okay.
All right. So Deadpool, he meets up with his bartender friend, and he's mad. He's like, they got Vanessa. What are we going to do? We need all the guns. And then he gets a text message, and it's from Francis. And it says, "You want her? Come and get her. The scrapyard, 12 p.m. Love, Ajax," and then a smiley poop emoji. Like, once again, didn't need to say "love Ajax" at the bottom. Like, yeah, I think this is two-pronged. Like, first of all, it says love, and second of all, it says his name, but not his name. Like, he's rubbing it in. He's like, my name's not Ajax. Say my name. Say it. Say Francis, right? Like, he wants him to say Francis, but he's like, "Love Ajax," poop emoji.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's pretty good.
So Deadpool, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and Colossus arrive at the scrapyard.
Oh, just one note. Negasonic Teenage Warhead was not in the script that was leaked. So she was something that was added later because they just wanted another mutant, I guess. Anyway, just a random.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's a good character, though, and I think she fits into the movie.
I mean, she doesn't do anything, right? Like, you could take her out
explodes.
And it would be the same movie because she wasn't in the script. Anyway.
Ajax, he walks out, he spreads his arms wide, and he shouts from the top of the ship, "Wade Wilson, what's my name?" Like, it's the first thing he says when Deadpool gets there. He just wants to hear his name. And then Deadpool mutters to himself. He says, "I'm about to spell it out for you." And then he kills all of Ajax's men and literally spells out Francis with their bodies. And it says, "Yoo-hoo," to get Francis's attention.
Yeah.
At which point Ajax looks down at it, turns to Vanessa and says, "Does he write you notes too? He's such a romantic." It's like a competition between them, dude. Like, he's seriously comparing Deadpool's interactions with him to Deadpool's interactions with Vanessa.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good.
Like, these, and I'm not kidding you. These are all his lines. Like, I'm not skipping his lines in between. I'm telling you everything he says in the movie. He had a few more lines in the lab just explaining their procedures, which I kind of glossed over and didn't quote here. But pretty much anytime he's having conversation, he's saying affectionate things about Deadpool.
Just a side note, though, that spelling things with bodies bit is directly from the comics. So that's something Deadpool does.
Ajax clearly took it very personally, but it might not have been as personal as he thought. All right. So Deadpool, he's advancing on Ajax. He got to the top of the boat. He's coming to get him. Ajax has Vanessa locked in the vacuum chamber. And this was a really weird part to me. Like this, I don't know how else to interpret this. Like there was no reason for this. So Deadpool's talking to Vanessa. I forget what Deadpool says, something along the lines of, don't worry, I'm going to get you out of this, horrible situation. And then Ajax chimes in. He's like indicating Vanessa, like he's kind of gesturing to her, and he says, what better way to crawl back inside that head of yours? To Deadpool. Like, I have no idea how to interpret that except I'm jealous, so I got your girlfriend.
Yeah. You're not even thinking about me anymore.
No, exactly. This isn't like, look what I got, now I can kill you, right? Like, this isn't like I baited you here to kill you so I can get on with my business. This is completely personal. Like, he just wants Deadpool to think about him. And then Deadpool responds, oh, you never left. Like, you never left that head of mine, which I'm sure makes Ajax real happy. Like, do you have any other way to interpret that scene? Like, why would he be saying what better way to crawl back inside that head of yours? Like, that one even threw me off because I didn't remember that line and I have no other way of interpreting it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't, because Ajax was never the one getting into Deadpool's head, right?
No, like
it was always Deadpool getting into his head.
Right. So he's jealous. Like, that's all.
Yep.
He's mad that Deadpool came back, to find his girlfriend. He's like, you should have gotten out there to be with me, or you shouldn't have escaped at all. You should have stayed with me, I think is almost what he's thinking, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So we're getting to the end of the movie. Deadpool, Ajax have an epic fight. They're killing each other. Deadpool gets stabbed in the head. Negasonic Teenage Warhead blows up the whole shipyard, the whole scrapyard, and the ship falls down. Ajax tackles Deadpool. And this part, once again, I thought was really interesting because at this point, Angel Dust is out. All of Ajax's goons are out. Ajax has nothing to gain here. Like, why didn't he leave like he left the first time Deadpool caught him? Like, no one even knew he survived the crash. He's surrounded by superheroes. He's got Colossus, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and Deadpool to fight. And I don't think he could even beat one of them. Like, he's very hurt.
Right? He doesn't have any superpowers.
Right. Like, he has no superpowers. And also, he just had a boat collapse on him. Like, he's in bad shape. And also, he just fought Deadpool. Deadpool was, like, stabbing him all over and stuff. And yet, instead of leaving, he tackles Deadpool. Like, he sticks around. He wants to see this through to the end. So he tackles Deadpool. Deadpool breaks both of his arms as they punch each other in the cheek and then, beats him up. And he's screaming to him. He says, now it's time for you to fix this butterface. Ajax says, there's no cure for that. Deadpool says, you mean you can't fix this? And Ajax says, sounds even stupider when you say it, which it is. Like, why did he even take it seriously?
It was a very contrived and stupid motivation for Deadpool to have.
Yes, and I'm glad that in the end they call it out. Like, this is dumb, Deadpool. But also it kind of fits because Deadpool kind of, even like in the comics, he latches on to like little things. Yeah. So this could be one of those things that he latched onto that isn't logical, but it's stuck in his head. I mean,
that's the one thing that I miss most from the comics, though, is that Deadpool is not dumb. Like, he plays himself off as dumb, but he's always has some sort of plan, and
he's almost methodical. But like,
he's like really smart in a crazy way, and all the crazy stuff he does always ends up coming together in some genius way. And unfortunately, Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, I think, just actually is dumb.
But is that unfortunate though? I think it works.
Yeah,
right? I mean, it's not the same Deadpool, but it works.
It works. It's just less of a complex character, which I do think works for a mainstream audience, but I just like it a little less.
I understand, but I'm still glad we got what we got. All right, so end of the movie. Yeah, he says, it sounds even stupider when you say it. Deadpool says, like the kind of stupid who admits he's can't do the one thing I'm keeping him alive for. Then Deadpool takes out his pistol, points it at Ajax, and says, any last words? Can you guess what Ajax's last words are?
What's my name?
Yep. So Ajax he raises his head like he's dying, like he's bleeding. His arms are broken. He's got gashes everywhere. He raises his head so that his forehead's up against the barrel of Deadpool's gun and says, "What's my name?" Those are his last words. At which point Deadpool says, "Who cares?" And is gonna kill him. And then Colossus interrupts for a silly little gag of 4 moments. And then Deadpool shoots him anyway. Yeah. Which I thought was a really good ending. Like, even though it kind of messed with the pacing of it, it was really funny. I loved Colossus's speech. I love that Deadpool just killed Ajax anyway. And also, as Colossus is talking, Deadpool looks annoyed and Ajax looks super annoyed. Like, he wants Deadpool to acknowledge him some more. He wants Deadpool to shoot him or say his name. Like, that's all he wants. So, yeah. Now, I just want to get into a little bit of why this matters to me. As we talked about at the very beginning, the plot of this movie, I think it's an amazing movie. I'm not deriding it in any way, but the plot is really flimsy, right? Like, why doesn't Wade just go back to Vanessa? He got what he wanted, right?
Yeah, no.
He doesn't have cancer anymore. So he's terrible. A little ugly. Is he that shallow? Does he think she's that shallow? Like,
I mean, he really shouldn't if he knows her at all. Yep. I mean, this is a woman who he had sex with using a strap-on. Like, he's probably not super self-conscious in front of her.
I know,
right?
like, it's weird because they set them up as very open and not self-conscious. Like, I mean, they imply that he was keeping the ring, like the ring pop that he proposed to her with, in his butt before giving it to her, right? Like, I mean, they're pretty open about anything. So it seems like she wouldn't mind his mottled skin, right? He's still the same guy. But anyway, the reason is, that's not what the story is about. It's not about Vanessa and Wade. It's about Ajax and Wade. Vanessa in this movie is a side character who only serves to create friction and jealousy between the two main characters and their romance. Their unrequited romance, I guess I would say, because I don't think Deadpool's into it any more than getting revenge and pushing Ajax's buttons. I do think he gets some joy out of being tortured and out of hurting other people. But I think he mostly does want to end up with Vanessa. Well, this is Ajax's story. This is about Ajax and Wade Wilson. I guess Francis and Wade Wilson. We can say his name one more time. Sorry, any thoughts?
This is a tragic love story.
Yeah.
Like Romeo and Juliet levels of tragedy.
Juliet didn't like Romeo.
Well, yeah, if Deadpool had just realized, because I don't think Deadpool realizes that Ajax loves him, and if he had realized that, maybe things would be different, right? Deadpool went through this whole movie thinking that they had just a normal supervillain, superhero kind of relationship. When that's totally not what they had. Like the tragedy here is that Ajax was in a different movie than Deadpool was in.
100%. Yes, this is the tragedy of Ajax. Like, no one understands him. Like, I'm not saying he's a good person. I'm not defending what he does, because he's a horrible person. As I said at the beginning, he's an empty person who is bad. But this is a tragedy about this horrible person never getting what he wants. He just wants Deadpool to acknowledge him.
So, is Ajax a good Marvel villain, or is he the best Marvel villain? Dude,
Ajax is undeniably the best Marvel villain.
By that I mean, is he a complex good character, unlike most Marvel villains?
Yes. No, exactly. And that's why I loved Deadpool when I saw it. Like, literally, as I watched, I was like, finally, we get like a complex, multifaceted villain. Like, he's not a villain. I mean, he is, but he's the main character, right? Like, this is his love story, right? Like,
okay. So that that kind of leads into to what I was going to say. So the problem with most Marvel villains is they're not very complex, and they get criticized a lot for that. No, they're
completely straightforward.
And they're pretty much just doing evil stuff for the sake of doing evil stuff. And most of what they do makes no sense. It's just whatever is bad for the characters at that point, right? Mm-hmm. That's why we always joke that, like, oh, he must have got hit in the head, and he's just does nothing he's doing makes any sense. Like he knows he's about to die. So, like, I feel like there's only two ways you can interpret Ajax. Either this whole say my name thing is like a weird power play where he thinks Deadpool is like afraid to say his name and he feels superior, but that doesn't make any sense.
No, and it doesn't make any sense.
Or it's what you say where he's in love with Deadpool, which makes perfect sense. So
yeah, it makes complete sense. It's even backed up by his own dialogue. But he like everything he says backs it up.
But if you go with like what I'm sure most people who watch this movie, don't see this love story, then the only explanation is that Ajax is a terrible villain and nothing he does makes any sense whatsoever.
Right. No, like if
he literally just doing whatever is like just kind of bad and villainous against Deadpool at any given moment and just being kind of cool and bad while he does it. Or he's in love with Deadpool and then everything makes sense and he's like the best villain ever.
Sense. Yeah, it's because he's not like he is acting irrationally, and it's because of his feelings toward Deadpool, right? Like everything he does is about either getting his attention or getting revenge or getting back at the girl he's jealous of, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, what a good movie. But yeah, that's how I interpreted it. First time I watched it, I left the theater just in awe. I was like, I can't believe they wrote a villain like that. Like that was the best Marvel villain I've ever seen.
I'm from when I first watched it, I was on the other end, the more, probably what we would call mainstream part of the spectrum where I just watched it and I got out and I was like, that was a good movie. It was really funny. I liked Deadpool. And then thinking about it, I was like, man, the Ajax sure was stupid, wasn't he? Like, first of all, he doesn't even have a power, and his plan made no sense, right? So I guess it comes down to, like, you choose to believe that he's just a dumb villain, or after hearing this theory, you can choose to believe that this was a tragic love story, and I think that certainly improves the movie. So I think that's a good thing to choose to believe.
I completely agree. Like, I think he is, bar none, the greatest Marvel villain. End of story.
It's too bad. I'm not sure if maybe the writers knew. I don't know if the director
I don't see how
knew.
They couldn't have. Like some of the lines they gave him. Like, why was he talking about crawling back into Deadpool's head by kidnapping his girlfriend? Like, why was that even the subject of conversation right then?
Oh, that poor love-struck man with no superpowers who got beat up and killed by a bunch of superheroes.
Yeah. Poor Ajax. He never stood a chance, even with Angel Dust protecting him. Like, she had legitimate superpowers, but like, I mean, come on, what's she gonna do against Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Deadpool?
And apparently, I mean, we don't need to talk about the sequel, but apparently Colossus is tough ugh that he can just take out the Juggernaut by punching him, which is just so I have mixed feelings on the
sequel. Mostly a little negative, but I don't hate it. But
it's got funny jokes, but it's just the jokes. But I mean, like that said, I love Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick.
Yeah, they're good. They write great jokes. They write fun characters. They write good. Like their characters are really
first
fun.
Movies. Like Deadpool is great. Zombieland is great. Their second movies,
I haven't seen Zombieland
Deadpool 2 and Zombieland 2, are not bad. They're just mostly good jokes. And if you look at everything else aside from the jokes, it doesn't make sense. And it's really not that great, right? So this does kind of make me wonder if maybe they didn't know about Ajax and they were just kind of writing a generic villain who was making stupid choices,
I mean, in that case, how could they have written some of his dialogue? Like, I mean, why does he walk over to Deadpool and say, like, tells him how jealous he is? He calls him gorgeous. He says he wants to sew that pretty mouth shut. Like, why does he tell Angel Dust that he misses him and he likes the challenge?
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, I wish I remembered if from the script, if what Ajax's lines were, but I just don't remember the script that well. But
maybe it was the actor. It's true. Maybe the actor.
That's what I was going to say. It could be that the actor had this whole story for himself. He was like, "Oh, I'm in love with Deadpool," and then he just went with that. And every single scene he was in, he played like, "I am in love with Deadpool," and like the writers and the director didn't know.
Yeah, that could be. I don't know. I wish we could get the actor on the show. Let's see, what's his name? Ajax. He's Ed Skrein. He's so cool. He's a good actor. He was in Alita: Battle Angel.
Whoa. So one more interesting thing to note. You had mentioned that at the beginning of the movie, when Ajax first arrives, his opening line to Deadpool is "Hello, gorgeous." Now, this is actually a very famous movie quote. It was even featured in AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movie Quotes in 2005. It's from the movie Funny Girl starring Barbara Streisand. Now, if you've just watched Deadpool 1 and the sequel, Deadpool 2, Barbara Streisand might sound a little bit familiar because in the sequel, Vanessa and Wade are watching the movie Yentl, and then Wade later references the song Papa Can You Hear Me several times throughout the film. Now, I'm not exactly sure what this means, except that perhaps by the time the sequel rolled around, the writers had decided to acknowledge in a very small way the Ajax love story. They're saying that both Ajax and Deadpool are fans of Barbara Streisand and her films. So maybe they're trying to tell us that our theory is correct. And if these two men had just realized their shared love of Barbara Streisand, maybe their story would have ended differently.
Wow, that totally proves it. Dude.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. Like I said, I wasn't one of the, ingenious people who saw this the first time watching it. But now that I know it, I feel like it improves the movie. And I very much would rather believe that Ajax was a tragic love hero or a tragic
anti-hero.
Yeah, anti-villain. A tragic love villain rather than just a stupid villain.
I agree. I'm so glad I could open your eyes to that. I love Deadpool. I think it's a great movie. I think everyone who worked on it really put their hearts into it. I love watching it. I'm just so glad it exists. I think that about wraps it up. I think that's about everything I have to say about it.
Awesome. All right. Well, that has been The Popcorn Isn't Real. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And join us next time for more awesome fan theories on popular films.
Yep. I'm Torvald.
And I'm Leif. See you later.
See you next time.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Opening music for this episode was provided by Christine. And if you like our podcast, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe on whatever platform you get your podcasts. And remember, the popcorn isn't real.